In this week's episode, we're digging into one of America's most binge-worthy TV obsessions, The Walking Dead. It's raw, it's gritty, it's scary, it's exciting, it's engaging. And there's so much more cool stuff going on that it crosses the line from good TV into great TV. So take off that eye patch and put down that crossbow because we're taking a bite out of The Walking Dead. The best parts. First things first. Spoiler alert. We know you're watching this video because you love the characters and their stories, so if you're not caught up, just pause me right now and go binge on Netflix. I can wait.
Clock is ticking, Rick.
You're back. Let's start at the beginning. If you're a hardcore Walking Dead fan, you may notice that the title card has been decaying throughout the series. And the theme song, of course, composed by the amazingly named Bear McCreary, it sets the perfect tone. It's creepy and menacing, but it's active too. It pushes along and moves forward just like the characters have to. And as you know, one of the best parts of The Walking Dead are the characters. Lots of Walking Dead fans have trouble picking a favorite because they're all so dang good. That's because the show isn't afraid to throw them against impossibly brutal situations. We cheer for them when they succeed, and weep for them when they don't. Rick, the leader of the group, overcame extreme obstacles at the beginning of the series to find and protect his family. Plus, he gained a kind of new family along the way. His evolution as a character hasn't really been a straight line. He started as a reluctant leader and eventually grew into a Rick-tator.
This isn't a democracy anymore.
And remember the time his son Carl, or as Rick would say, Carl, is forced to kill Rick's wife Lori? So messed up. But Rick recovered and became an even greater leader than he was before. He learns that the group can't survive by his wits alone, and he leans on his core team, Daryl, Michonne, Glenn, Maggie, and Carol for support. Daryl. One of the best parts of The Walking Dead. The actor who portrays Daryl, Norman Reedus, originally auditioned to play his brother Merle. He wasn't quite right for that role, but the head honchos loved him so much they created a whole new character just for him. And we are glad they did. When we first meet him, he's a smarmy jerk and constantly spats with other members of the group. But over the course of the show, his true self shines through. Not only is he intelligent, resourceful, and a true badass, he cares deeply about his fellow travelers and will go to the ends of the earth to protect them. We should all be so lucky to have a friend like Daryl. And who can forget everyone's favorite pizza delivery guy, Glenn Rhee? Remember when Glenn saved Rick from being walker food when he was trapped in the tank in downtown Atlanta? And Glenn's love for his girlfriend and eventual wife, Maggie, endures beyond even his own life. What were his very last words? Maggie, I will find you?
Maggie, I'll find you.
Man, I need a minute. Maggie. Maggie can hold her own. She's fighting the saviors and taking down walkers left and right, while grieving for her brutally murdered husband and dealing with a medical emergency related to her pregnancy. Yeah, she's kicking butt while pregnant. Speaking of strong female characters, we could almost do a whole best parts video on Carol. Her evolution from season 1 to 7 is by far the most drastic. She went from a soft-spoken, abused wife to a strong woman who is arguably the greatest fighter on the show. She's a master of manipulation and knows how to get exactly what she needs from people to survive. Plus, she did this. That is certainly a best part. If Carol has a rival for most badass, it's gotta be Michonne. This katana-wielding warrior uses her boyfriend and his best friend as walker shields after they've turned. Talk about resourceful. Katanas, walker shields, Morgan's ninja staff are all great weapons. And speaking of weapons, thank goodness everyone knows how to actually use a gun. These guys can shoot. These characters are obviously strong on their own, but their relationships with each other are one of the show's greatest strengths. This sense of community is one of the best parts because it's a constant reminder that people can succeed as long as they stick together. And you have to learn to stick together to fight the villains The Walking Dead produces. The nameless governor of Woodbury remains one of the most menacing characters in the show. He single-handedly reclaimed the eye patch from pirates, but that's just the beginning. His journey from a seemingly kind-hearted leader with some minor flaws to a raging psychopath is unlike anything Basic Cable has ever seen. And just when we thought they couldn't do any worse, The Walking Dead introduces us to a new villain that makes the governor look like nothing more than a schoolyard bully.
Hi. You're Rick, right? I'm Negan.
Negan and his group, the Saviors, have unleashed a new reign of terror on these characters. With the help of his barbed wire Bat Lucille and mincing charm, Negan has elevated Rick and his group to a level of fear that we've never seen on the show before. And they fight zombies, walkers. In the midst of all this madness, there are still hordes of walkers roaming the country, wreaking havoc at the worst possible times, which is bad for the characters, but great for the viewer. The Walkers also experience a character arc of their own. They go from being the primary adversary to a secondary inconvenience, even though they outnumber the humans 5,000 to 1. The creators of the show have tirelessly worked to make the Walkers believable elements in the story. And boy, have they succeeded. Even watching them eat human flesh feels so real it'll give you chills. But don't worry, they are actually eating ham soaked in vinegar and chicken breast. One of the best parts of all the characters, living and not living, is how they're so gruesome and ruthless, which has produced some of the most epic death scenes that have ever taken place on television. There's Dale, Shane, T-Dog, Lori, Merle, Karen and David, Herschel, Mika, then Lizzie, Beth, Tyrese, Noah, Sam, Jesse, Denise, Abraham, and Glenn. Whew! Watching all those back-to-back made me kinda sick. That this show has only won 2 Emmys? The Walkers kinda serve as a metaphor for what the living humans have become, but the show's main characters continue to resist that devolution. That, ultimately, is the best part of The Walking Dead. This show isn't about zombies finding a cure or even trying to reach any conclusion. It's an exploration of the persistence of humanity in a world that's constantly trying to destroy it. Oh, and the comics are pretty good too. What are your favorite parts of The Walking Dead? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We'll be here every week, sharing our favorite stuff and the best parts.